Hi, making one last video regarding the yield curve because this is super important in regards to figuring out if this time is different or if it's just playing out the way it always does. Okay, so this picture right here is taken from over here. This is the yield curve back in 1928. The yield curve inverted in January 1928 and it re-steepened out of inversion in December of 1929. December of 1929 was right about here. So basically, we had the inversion of the yield curve throughout this whole period. uh, for nearly 2 years. The markets during inversion from this wick low right here went up 100%. In this gray bar, this is the inversion rally. The markets doubled during the yield curve inversion for 21 months. Okay. Then the yield curve re-steepens and the rate cuts begin and the markets collapse minus 90%. So markets went up during the inversion when there was rate hikes and or a pause, and then when rate cuts began, the market collapsed minus 90%. Then we're going to go over to 2008, which is over here. I'll make this bigger. So this is the yield curve right here. This starts to invert in January of 2006. The market is right there. The markets go up 33% during the inversion for 21, 22 months. And then during the rate cuts and QE and TARP, and you might say, oh, rate cuts is going to be so bullish. That's perfectly fine if you want to believe that, but that's not what, and that might make sense in theory, but that's not how it plays out in practice. Okay? So we're going to go over to this. When they were cutting rates here in 2008. They started cutting rates in September. You can see this is the first rate cut. That was right there. Markets went up till October for 1 month. And then as they're doing all of these rate cuts from September of 2007 till December of 2008, the market goes from over there to down there. And this is with QE and TARP. QE stands for quantitative easing and TARP for the trouble assets relief program. So in the first example, the markets went up for depends on if you want to take it. The markets itself from this wick low went up for 19 months, but it was 23 months from the inversion of the yield curve in January 1928 till the re-steepening in December 1929. Okay, and then if we go and look at what we have today, we have rallied for 20 months during yield curve inversion. This is the inversion rally in the gray zone, while rates are going up, markets are going up. Why? Because rates are about growth and inflationary expectations. If interest rates are going up, it's actually good because it means the economy is strong. If interest rates are coming down, it's bad because it means the economy is weak. Okay. Average recession decline is minus 34%. Okay. Global financial crisis was minus 60%, and the Great Depression was minus 90%. Okay. I'll remove this for now. So we should see in the next couple of months, unless this time is different, the market top and fall over. Now, can they still rally on the initial rate cut like they did over here? Because again, if we go back to how 2008 played out, the rate cut came here, September 18th, 2007. That was right here. The market still went up a bit. You see? The market still went up a bit. But then it fell over. So it's my personal belief that when the rate cuts arrive, that's not going to be good. I'm also very bullish on the DXY. I've made videos about this. I think this looks like chain link, and I think this is going to 120 plus. And when that happens, I don't think it's going to be good. Because it's going to break out to like 40 year highs in that case. That's my personal belief. I'm very bullish on the DXY. Also regarding the unemployment rate, and also we're gonna go over another thing regarding the Dow Jones, because you might say, oh, but then you should stay in the market during the inversion of the yield curve. That makes sense if you want 50% probabilities, because sometimes, like over here, look at the 2000 inversion. The inversion began here in, I'll say, oh, this is the 10-year 3 month. The inversion began here in February of 2000. The markets were topping here. Okay, the Nasdaq literally topped in March 2000. So here it wasn't good to stay in the market. By the time the yield curve re-steepened, let's say you're like, oh, I'm just gonna stay in for the inversion rally. You don't know if there's gonna be an inversion rally. December, let's say in January of 2001, the markets, I mean, the yield curve re-steepened. That was down here. So you were already down like 56% by the time the yield curve was re-steepening. How about in the mid 1970s? Over here. The yield curve, the inversion occurred in February of 1973. How do I know that? Let me open another chart. US 10 year, US 1 year. I have to go back to the chart. So the yield curve inverts here in March 1973. Okay, so it's not actually February. In March 1973. And the markets were going down this whole time during the inversion. When it re-steepened out of inversion, the sustained re-steepening was in November of 74. Where's the market then? It's already bottoming. So half the time it crashes during the inversion, half the time it rallies during the inversion. So it's no better than 50-50 chance. Yeah? Now we're going to look at the unemployment rate. This was just revised up. Again, I've been talking about this for months and months and months and months. I made a video back in, let me see, December. The unemployment rate is about to go over in a vertical line in 2024. September, 4.7% in California, as far as the unemployment rate goes. And now the Californian unemployment rate is 5.3%, and it's not even about the number; it's about the trend. The problem with the national unemployment rate is that you drop out of the statistics if you don't find a job for 12 months. And if you work and drive for Uber for like 1 hour a week, then you're also not unemployed. This is not the only thing I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this. And this. Silicon Valley unemployment rate and NBER recessions. So where we are right now. So where we are right now. This is Orange County. This is San Diego. San Diego. And the problem with this is that if you're waiting for the NBER to tell you when the recession begins, they'll let you know a year after. It's too late at that point. You need to look at leading economic indicators. Okay. So again, I'm focusing on the yield curve, the money supply, GDI, GDP diverging, and the conference board leading economic indicators. December 1st, 2008, the month of the peak. The committee identified that December 2007 as the peak month. And they go back and they revise down all the garbage data that they were lying about in the past. For an example, they tell you it increased that the GDP increased at an annual rate of 0.6% in Q4 of 2007. And this report came out in January 2008. And then in July of 2008, they sharply revised it down to a contraction of 0.2% rather than growing 0.6%. So all the data that they came out with, it was all fake. So this is the problem, you know. And on top of that, like this plays into the whole revision thing, yeah. Where again, I've shown this before, right? Also shown this before. So they're revising down the non-farm payrolls and everything. They're overstating jobs by nearly 500,000. They're always overstating everything, right? So keep this in mind if you're looking for a inversion rally to continue. Right now is about the time where, again, it took, for the markets to peak, it took 19 to 20 months right before the Great Depression, during the inversion. And during the global financial crisis, it took about 21 months, 22 months. So 19 to 20 months during the Great Depression, 21 to 22 months, no, yeah, 21 to 22 months during the GFC. We're month 20 now. We will know within half a year probably if this time is different. If the markets don't peak within half a year, then this time is starting to look different. The way we get a confirmation of this time being different is we get a bear steeper in the yield curve, meaning the long end of the yield curve is rising faster than the front end due to growth and inflationary expectations. That means the economy is strong, and that means there's soft landing. And again, just like we went over, George Gamma's recent video. Let me bring it up. We're gonna listen to what Jerome Powell himself has to say. Okay? You don't have to care about my opinion. Just listen to Jerome Powell.
Research by staff in the Federal Reserve System that really says to look at the short, the first 18 months of the yield curve, right? And that has 100% of the explanatory power of the yield curve. And it makes sense because,
Listen now.
there's a reason why that would be
Why would that be, Jerome Powell?
the case, because if it's inverted, that means the Fed's going to cut, which means the economy is weak.
Okay. If it's inverted, that means the economy is weak, which means the Fed is gonna cut. Okay, so they're not gonna cut because the economy is strong. They're gonna cut because the economy is weak. You just heard it there from him himself. And it's just like we went over with interest rates, right? There's interest rate fallacy. Milton Friedman. The central banks cannot control interest rates. That's a mistake. They can control a particular rate, such as the federal funds rate, if they want to, but they cannot control interest rates. They can only control the federal funds rate, which is the overnight lending rate. I thought the fallacy of identifying tight money with high interest rates and easy money with low interest rates was dead. Apparently, all fallacies never die. Before I go over this, I want to go over this. You might say, why would we care about what this guy has to say? Well, the central banks are bowing down to him. Ben Bernanke, who's that? That was the Fed chair during the global financial crisis. Given at a conference to honor Milton Friedman. They're honoring him. Okay, maybe we should listen to what he has to say. What else does Mr. Friedman have to say? The interest rate fallacy as an empirical matter. Low interest rates are a sign that monetary policy has been tight, in the sense that the quantity of money has grown slowly. High interest rates are a sign that monetary policy has been easy, in the sense that the quantity of money has grown rapidly. The broadest facts of experience run in precisely the opposite direction from that which the financial community and economic economists have all generally taken for granted. It's backwards, meaning low interest rates is bad. And show me the time where lower interest rates is good. You might say in the mid 1990s. So if you go over to this, you might say it was good right here. They were hiking rates. They were dropping rates right here, and it wasn't bad. Right, but was the yield curve inverted? Well, let's go back and look. Was the yield curve inverted in the mid 1990s? No. What about, let's actually pull this up. Where does the gray bar normally appear after they drop rates? Huh? They're dropping rates because of a recession. You might say not over here and not over here. True. So is the yield curve inverted there? Mid 1990s, no inversion. Mid 1980s, no inversion. Alright, so yeah, they didn't overdo it. So yeah, of course there was going to be a soft landing in that case. But when it's inverted, there's no way in hell you're getting a soft landing. And so, and then also, going back to this, you might say over here in the mid 1960s. Right, this time was actually different because the stock market went down how much? 1966. How much did the stock market go down in 1966? It was like right here. The market still went down 27%. You might say that's not that bad. Well, GDP went down from, and again, that's as bad as the 2022 decline that we saw. You might say that time was different, and so you should have bet on that. Even if you were technically correct, and there was no recession, the market still went down and everything. You still made no money from 1966 till 2009, even the one time that you were technically correct. So if you want to be a buy and holder, again, here, you buy in 1928, say in January 1928, right there at 35.62. Why? Because the yield curve is inverting in January 1928, and you're like, this time is different. And the whole time here, you're getting to enjoy the ride up, right? From a low of 35.62 there in January when it inverts, all the way up to the high at 68.22. You're doubling your money, and then you don't see your money again for like 65 years. Are you fine with that? If you're fine with that, then go ahead, right? 1915 to 1985, no money. 1929 to 1994, no money. 1966 till 2009, no money. 1835 to 1932, no money. These are 30 to 100 year periods where you do not see your money again. So keep that in mind the next time you say this time is different. We don't know if this time is different yet. Everything is pointing towards it's not different because this shit keeps grinding higher. The full-time job losses keep getting worse, and it's about the trend. Huh? So keep that in mind. And this was just revised up, by the way. So I started covering this. I even started covering it in the summer when it was like 4.5% or something. Now it's up to 5.3. It's really obvious that this is going to continue going up. Anyways, that's all. Peace.